With just 3 weeks to go until the U.S. presidential election, Donald Trump is stepping up his claims that the election is rigged against him and alleging widespread voter fraud. At a rally in Wisconsin Monday, he blasted his opponent, Hillary Clinton, about her campaign's hacked emails. He says one revealed the Democratic nominee was fed questions before a town hall during the primaries.
Hillary even got the questions and answers in advance of a major debate. How do you do that? And think of it. Nobody made a big deal. Nobody even knows about it. She got the questions in advance to essentially a debate. Can you imagine? No. Can you imagine if Donald Trump got the questions in advance? You know what they'd do? They'd reinvent the electric chair. That's what they'd do.
Meanwhile, Trump's wife, Melania, is coming to her husband's defense for the first time since his lewd comments about women on a 2005 videotape released. Several women have made accusations of sexual misconduct against Trump after the Washington Post released that tape. Melania Trump calls her husband's comments inappropriate, but blames then Access Hollywood host Billy Bush for leading that conversation.
I was surprised because that is not the man that I know. And as you can see from the tape, the cameras were not on. It was only a mic. And I wonder if they even knew that the mic was on, because they were kind of a boy talk, and he was lead on, like egg on, from the host to say dirty and bad stuff.
Joining me now, Democratic strategist Dave Jacobson and Republican consultant John Thomas. Thank you so much for coming back. Sure. Nobody got hurt last time, so we're going to try that again. So you've just heard a couple of things. I do want to go back to what Donald Trump said. He's been talking a lot about rigged election. He did mention that Hillary Clinton did get some questions for a debate during the primaries, and that turned out to be true. So does he have a point? Because he's using these small details to say this is an overarching problem.
I think you have to separate the rigged accusation into two boxes. The one is the voting system, the actual machines we use, are those rigged? The answer is no. But is the system, in terms of the establishment, are they coalescing around anybody but Trump, in essence, to either get their choice candidate, Hillary Clinton, in the Democratic primary elected, and to ensure that Donald Trump doesn't win? There are pieces of evidence that point to that direction. So I think the rigged argument, he has to be more specific about the establishment and not about the institution that our democracy is founded on.
Is this dangerous to use this sort of language that it's rigged and calling for sort of a revolution if, you know, I suspect if he doesn't win? Because if he wins, I'm sure this story will probably be different.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, look, the reality is he's setting up a justification for failure, because this is a guy who only talks about winning and he makes fun of losers. And so he can't be a loser, right? There's no way that he would lose. And so if he ends up not being the president, then something was wrong with the system, right? That's the justification. And I think he's also setting himself up potentially for some sort of like media empire, some TV station. We saw his son-in-law was reportedly, you know, going, I think this was reported in the New York Times, you know, going out saying, hey, listen, pitching the idea of like a television station or some sort of media empire. And so I think he's perhaps setting himself up for that. You know, Donald Trump has this sort of hardened 40% base of voters that like he can do no harm with, right? Like whatever he says, like they're not going away from him. And I think he's like setting himself up for giving an answer to those voters like, look, the system's rigged, the system failed, and here's what we're going to do if I am not the next president.
It sounds like this won't be over no matter what the outcome of this election is. Even if he is not president, that there's still going to be these conversations, correct? I mean, he's still going to be on Twitter and he's still going to be talking about the election.
There's a lot of distrust with the system, with the establishment. And so as a Republican, there's really only a couple different outcomes that I hope. On the one hand, either if Donald Trump wins, that's okay as a Republican. But if he loses, I hope that it's not close. Because if it is close within a point or so, that I'm afraid our base is going to burn down the system because they're so angry and they feel that the system robbed it. That means that they're going to go after Speaker Paul Ryan and anybody who didn't support the nominee. They're going to go after our actual voting process. So for democracy's sake, I hope it's not close.
What about you? When you look at the situation here, these emails that have come out from Hillary Clinton's campaign and from herself, that would be big news. I mean, it would top the news cycle. But because of comments made and because of these tapes that have come out, it sort of has been pushed down. Is he right in saying you guys aren't even paying attention to these important points that have come out from Hillary Clinton's emails?
Look, they may be important points given the fact that like we're talking about them, but there's no smoking gun. And the other issue is like they're not Hillary Clinton's emails, and the audio tape was like Donald Trump's actual voice. Those were his words, and the emails are emblematic of like people who voters just simply don't know. They don't know who John Podesta is. They don't know Robbie Mook, the campaign manager, right? That's not Hillary or Bill or Hillary who's running, and I think that's the clear difference. Moreover, like there's no proven like criminal wrongdoing in these emails. Like sure, you've got that drip, 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 but there's no bombshell or October surprise like we saw with the 2005 audio tape. Moreover, it's not just any tape. I mean, this is some of the most salacious stuff that and obscene rhetoric that we've seen throughout the course of this campaign. And frankly, it's pretty hard to top what we've already seen throughout the course of this race.
And what these emails have done, Dave's right, but what the emails have done is they've confirmed our worst suspicions about Hillary Clinton, that she's the most crass politician, that she has a public position and a private position, that she will do whatever she needs to do politically to please a billionaire leftist donor, that there's a $1 million gift to Bill Clinton for 5 minutes of his time from a foreign government. What's interesting, this would have been a bigger deal, but the Clintons smartly are sitting on the ball right now. She's canceled her public appearances because she knows that you're right. The Trump tapes are more salacious. There are new women and faces that come out. And so right now they're sitting on it. But in any other cycle, these emails could take down a candidate.
Yeah. Trust issues, they certainly bubble back up
Yes.
with her. I want to mention one more thing. The thing that we have been talking about a lot here is Mosul and what is happening in Iraq. This is a huge movement internationally and in the Middle East, and yet neither candidate has talked about it even a little bit. I mean, we have heard almost nothing on this subject, not just Mosul itself, but what's happening in the Middle East and something that's going to affect our country, no doubt, in the years to come. What do you make of that? Why is that? Is it the public isn't that interested? Are they more sort of self-centered?
You know, it's a great question. If it's not on our soil immediately, they're not concerned. I think what's going on between the WikiLeaks and kind of Trump the reality show, it's more salacious. I think Trump would be wise to weave this into his narrative as to how there is chaos, and largely because over the last 8 years has done nothing to stem the chaos, and Hillary Clinton's been part of that administration.
And that's something that Donald Trump has pushed. He has talked about.
Yeah, but he can't do it in a consistent, disciplined manner.
Well, I think that's the challenge. Like, there's no concrete, like, specific, like, foreign policy plan, whether it comes to ISIS or Iraq or Syria or some of these other challenges across the globe. He'd rather put his arm around Vladimir Putin and talk about how he's going to be buddies with him, and potentially, as CNN, I believe, reported, would even, you know, contemplate meeting with Vladimir Putin before the election even took place. And so, like, he's talking about those kinds of things, but he's not coming up with, like, specific plans on how to tackle ISIS.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Great conversation. I love this. I could do this all day long.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here.